welcome Lara Gilmore.
I want to talk about two projects that happen quite unexpectedly, two projects that happen when we stepped out of our kitchen and stepped into our communities. The first one is called Tortellante, and Tortellante is an unusual combination between special needs teenagers and retired pasta makers. The second project is Food for Soul, and it's a nonprofit that Massimo and I started 2016. And it's dealing with the dual issue of fighting food waste and social isolation through opening community kitchens that work with beauty, light, art, and creating delicious meals for those in need. The thing about both projects is that we've learned that food can be a powerful tool for change. Tortellini. Tortellini is the answer that my husband will give you if you ask him, what are you going to take on a deserted island? Tortellini, as I have learned, is the answer to many things. Tortellini are handmade egg pasta. There's a filling with prosciutto, mortadella, Parmigiano cheese. It's a traditional recipe. Families keep their recipes going from generation to generation. Rarely do they get out of the family crest. And every family holds on to that recipe very dearly. But no matter how good a restaurant's tortellini will be, a real Modenese will say, they're pretty good, but they're not quite as good as my grandmother's. More than a food, they are a religion. And if you don't believe in God, you can always believe in tortellini. But making tortellini isn't a solitary act. Actually, it's a communal one. Tortellini are always made by a group of people, as many as you can, around the largest table in the house. There are technical reasons for this. When you roll out the dough, the tortellini have to be cut, the filling put on them, and folded as quickly as possibly, otherwise the dough will dry out. Another reason, technical, the more people there are around the table, the more tortellini there will be. But there's also an emotional reason, because there's nothing like a tortellini circle for catching up on gossip. 3 years ago, a friend of ours approached us with an idea. She said, do you think we could teach special needs teens to make tortellini? From making the pasta dough, to the filling, to folding the tortellini. Our son, Charlie, at the time, is 14 years old, and he has special needs. And this question struck me to my soul. One, I had never taught him to make tortellini. And two, how amazing would that be? But I wasn't the best one to teach him how to make tortellini. I'm certainly not Modenese. Who could be the teachers? Who could be the best teachers for these young boys? So we thought about it, and we thought the res d'ore. Res d'ore are literally translated, it means the pasta makers, the golden makers, because the pasta dough in Italy is very yellow. Res d'ore are the heart and soul of the Italian families. They're the grandmothers, they're their aunts, they're your next door neighbor who make tortellini for you. And we thought they would be the best people to ask, can you help us in this endeavor? Most importantly, they know the recipe not by heart, but by their hands, because making tortellini is a series of gestures. And actually, it's quite hard to make a tortellini, but really, it comes down to practicing. Lots and lots and lots of practice. So we began. We began with a small group of kids, put them around a table. Everyone had a certain station of one part of the process. And intuitively, at the end of the 2-hour session, they had made some tortellini. And even though it was a small amount, we divided it up among the kids. And everyone brought home a handful of tortellini. The amazing thing is this changed everything. As the weeks went on, the tortellini sessions gained momentum. More kids wanted to make more tortellini. They wanted to make them better and faster because they knew at the end of that 2-hour session, they were going to be bringing something home. The fact that what they had made became an identity for them. They became the protagonist in their own home. They were bringing home dinner that night. So for the families, the project Tortellante began a way of seeing their children in a different light. Families began seeing their children with a future. For the Res Dorta, it was a chance to finally pass on what they knew to someone who was not only interested, but looking for an identity, for a skill, for a future. Most teenage boys are not interested in learning how to make tortellini, especially from their grandmothers. But these kids were not only interested, they were good at it. As they made better and better tortellini, they also understood what it meant to share something with others. So it was clear that this Tortellante after-school project had a lot more power and impact than we could have ever imagined. Parents were seeing their kids in a new light. The teens were seeing themselves as being part of a group, having a name. They were proud to walk around with their hats, their aprons, to be Tortellante. So what if we opened a Tortellante pasta lab and a shop and sold this to the public? Could that be a future? Could that be the bridge between school and life? So we began envisioning Tortellante as a way of empowering these young, special needs adults to have a future as independent as possible, and a future where they could make a positive contribution to society. So I'm very happy to say that in November, we'll be opening up our Tortellante shop. And I don't know what's going to happen to it. It's a needle in a haystack. Hopefully to be a business, a future. It'll go on for many, many years. Our sons will grow up and become the pasta teachers themselves. What I do know is that there are already more orders for tortellini than Tortellante will ever be able to fill. Project number 2. Once again, kind of unexpectedly, we stumbled on something when we left our kitchen, when we got out of our comfort zone, as Virgilio talks about. It was never in our master plan to open up a series of community kitchens. But I'll let Cristina Rainey and Massimo Bottura in a short video tell you about Food for Soul.
Food for Soul is a non-profit organization founded by Chef Massimo Bottura and Lara Gilmore. Food for Soul works together with communities so they can fight against food waste through social inclusion. We believe that we're not a charity, we're a cultural project because we want to change the mindset of people, not only regarding food waste and what food waste is. We can use that resource to transform it. And how do we do that? It's to connecting different dots. So one of these dots is chefs. We invite chefs to collaborate in our projects, to come one day and cook together with the staff, with our staff in different projects, in order to create new recipes, new ways of addressing these ingredients, of seeing them.
I think the most important message of this project is involving the chef, their creativity, their time, and their knowledge. Because fighting waste, you need experience, you need people, chefs. They're like taking these ordinary ingredients and create extraordinary meals.
We go and speak with designers and architects and artists that transform the spaces to be functional but also beautiful. And we don't think this is something shallow, but through all our projects we have experienced how this can have a big impact in people's life, and the value that they see that the society are given to them.
A warm and comfortable place for the homeless and good design is incredibly smart, and one that we were definitely keen to be involved with. First and foremost, we wanted to make a place where people would feel comfortable and cared for.
Volunteers serve at the table. We believe that the value of the hospitality can change also the way we relate to the others, and a lot of that is with people in need. So instead of having a wall or a glass and serving someone through that, we go to the tables, volunteers serve at the tables and say to someone, "Hi, how was your day?" And even recognize it by name. The fact of being recognized and having human contact through hospitality comes a lot from the idea of Osteria Francescana, which Massimo and Lara founded more than 20 years ago.
Allora questo luogo deve diventare un luogo di cultura. L'accoglienza si fa cultura. E la cultura dove al primo posto ci sta l'attenzione al povero, al primo posto ci sta l'inclusione sociale del povero.
Do we need another soup kitchen? No. But we need a space that changes the perspective of the whole area where it is located, through his incredible positive message of inclusion. In a world in which they build walls, we break walls and we say, "Welcome, come here." So that's how we rebuild the dignity of the people.
Okay, I have a lot more to say, so we got to get on. Okay, so yeah, we started this amazing project. It started with Expo 2015. The theme was Feed the Planet, and we came together with an idea. We had no idea what we were doing, but this was our call. This was our answer to Feed the Planet. We opened in an abandoned theater in a neglected neighborhood of Milan, a community kitchen, and we named it Refettorio Ambrosiano. The picture you see is from the Refettorio Ambrosiano. So like I said, to be perfectly honest, Milan was an experiment. We had never cooked in a soup kitchen. We had never created meals from surplus ingredients coming from supermarkets, coming from Expo. We had no idea what to expect. We were completely out of our comfort zone. All we could do was apply 20 years of Osteria Francescana, what we knew about hospitality, what we intuitively knew about the power of beauty, and also what it means to sit down and share a meal. What did Massimo do? He called on his friends. Some of you are in this room. He called on his friends, each to prepare a 3-course meal, with the food surplus coming from Expo. A team of volunteers would serve at the table to the food insecure and homeless guests. The chefs made soups and meatballs and ice creams and desserts from the ingredients coming from the unloaded from the truck and from what was in the refrigerator. They applied their culinary skills to transform subordinary or ordinary ingredients into delicious meals. But what each chef really brought to this project was a positive attitude, an open mind, a desire to cook the best meal possible with the ingredients they had available. And I have to say thank you to everyone who participated, because without the energy of the chefs, this project would not be possible. At the end of 6 months of Expo, we learned something kind of unexpected. We learned that the Refettorio Ambrosiano didn't need us anymore. The kitchen staff had accumulated recipes from over 65 chefs. They knew exactly what to do with the wilted vegetables, the brown bananas, the expired dairy, the stale bread. The neighborhood volunteers who had gone from 1 year earlier protesting against opening the doors to have a soup kitchen in their neighborhood. They were the ones who were opening the doors every morning and closing them in the evenings. They were the ones who were opening for extra hours, for children, for the elderly. And after 6 months, we realized that it wasn't our project anymore. It belonged to that neighborhood. It belonged to the neighborhood of Greco, the people who live there, who work there, and were proud to have this community kitchen in their space. We knew that it would continue working day after day, with or without us. And so in looking for solutions to fight food waste, we came along a way to have a greater impact in a small community, but with a resounding voice. We understood that a good meal in a beautiful space, in a welcoming environment, can actually change a community. And what if more places like this were accessible to more people? In April 2016, we founded Food for Soul to empower communities to fight against food waste and social isolation. So since then, we've opened up several of these community kitchens. The first one is in Milan. Then we had one in Bologna, Modena, London, and most recently, Paris. They're all open, welcoming guests daily, and they're all there welcoming the community. But we asked ourselves, how could we also engage the larger public in the fight against food waste, even at home? And the answer was before our eyes. The chefs who came to visit us had not only cooked for our guests and for our volunteers, but they had written down the recipes, taken the time and the energy to write down recipes that they had invented there on the spot. We collected the recipes and put them in a book called Bread is Gold. The good thing about Bread is Gold is you don't have to be a professional cook to cook these recipes. They can be cooked by anyone at home with the ingredients you have. Actually, we suggest you open up your refrigerator and see what's in there, lurking in the dark corner. Read the recipe. It's a recipe book, but it's an idea book. The idea that there are so many possibilities to make a delicious meal at home with what you already have. This is the anti-farm-to-table cooking. This is looking for things that are unexpected and putting them together. It requires energy, a little bit more time, a little bit more creativity. But we found that cooking with ingredients that may have been thrown away, or don't look so good, or are just pretty ordinary, can actually be quite stimulating for a chef. Bread is Gold is full of all kinds of solutions. Leftover meat, some eggs that have been sitting there in the refrigerator, there are gazpacho recipes, there's bread puddings, ice cream, and every single recipe is a little bit different than the traditional, the authentic one. It's got something added to it you wouldn't expect. Some examples. So, poached eggs. Poached eggs were often on the menu, and they came in all different shapes and sizes. And we had Mauro Colagreco, who made poached egg in this beautiful potato nest. He was serving a group of young students, and they were amazed that an egg could become something so beautiful. Christina Bowerman served a poached egg with a carrot soup and millet on the side. Andoni served poached eggs over migas. And Luca Fantine served poached eggs with pasta, speck, broccoli, potatoes. I think there were some other ingredients in there. Completely unexpected dish. Gazpachos were seasonal. Daniel Hum made one with strawberries. It was the late spring, and the strawberries were almost out of season. John Walker made his samorea. Matias Perdomo made one in the late August, early September with watermelon. And Mark Moriarty used roasted vegetables for his version of gazpacho. Every single meatball, poached egg, bread pudding is unique, not unlike the tortellini made by the special needs teens. And who knows, maybe those teens will be the ones that save the Modenese pasta tradition from extinction. And maybe these seemingly random recipes will become new traditions. When we stepped out of our kitchens and into our communities and connected with them, with the Res D'Ora, with special needs adults, with those most in need, we learned that anyone can be a voice for change. And what we, all of us in this room, all of us in hospitality, what we do matters. We cook, we welcome, we share, we restore, we care, we do. And actually, just by doing, by taking action, maybe we can make the world a little bit of a better place, or at least a more delicious one. I really think that if we're here now, we are part of the opportunity for a better future, because the future is right here, today. Thank you.
Thank you.